Authorities say Native American women are disproportionately victimized by sexual assaults and other forms of violence. Their advocates say the reasons include vulnerability to exploitation and the response by law enforcement. To give the problem more attention, advocates are trying to make the women less invisible, specifically through an exhibition called Doors Unhinged. Pieces of the exhibition will be auctioned off May 6th at the North American Indian Center of Boston in Jamaica Plain. To tell us about the project is our guest from the center, the project director for Circles of Support, Sonya Isaac. Thank you very much for being with us, Sonya.
Thank you.
First of all, talk about the overview of this problem, because this is not just the United States. I think it's also Canada, at least. So this is quite.
I'm from Canada, so I kind of had the history of both of them together. Native women are 2.5% more likely to get assaulted, more than any other race in America. A lot of our history has always been swept under the rug. A lot of inquiries into missing murdered women have never been answered, looked into. Families have been left without knowing what happened to loved ones and whatnot. So our goal is to bring more awareness to that and hopefully get support of local authorities and governments to look into more of those inquiries.
Well, even if the immediate causes are things like family dysfunction, there are these other causes underlying, basically like a lack of options for people, that there's just not much else that they can turn to.
Well, when you have a culture that has been shunned down so far, it almost becomes a common thing. You don't know where to turn, you don't know what to do, or if you should say anything. Is it just a common reaction that happens? A lot of things are always unsaid. And in recent years, we've just been trying to get people to speak about it more, get it out of them to try and break that.
Well, of course, the other thing that can happen is that when people try to get help from authorities, I guess it's not as helpful as it should be, I guess.
And years, in the last few decades, really, there hasn't been a response really by any law enforcement, because a lot of the neighborhoods are really poor, especially when they're on the reservations. There's always a lack of enforcement that will even look into them. So,
what about the invisibility? I mean, I have to confess, I didn't know much about this before I started talking to you about it.
Exactly.
Right.
It's not something that's talked about a lot. We're trying to, with any Native cause, Stand and Rock, Idle No More, all of those different things that have been happening in the recent years, the residential schools, things like that. People are actually talking about more and more things. One of the things, as I said, I'm in Canada, it's really, really huge there with the missing and murdered women. The Canadian government actually put $53 million into the inquiries and programs and support and things to bring out the problem into the society so people are more aware of it. So now we're trying to do that more in the States.
Well, talk about the face that you're putting on this problem through the project, because yes, you can go on Facebook and see pictures of missing or maybe victimized women, but just ordinary photographs. But this is different. Talk about these paintings on the doors.
So the paintings that we have 26 doors that have been painted by local artists and some from Canada. They are to tell stories about domestic violence, missing and murdered women, and spiritual healing. I'm the director of the Circle of Support program at the North American Indian Center, and our women's group, it's a way for them to heal. There's stories behind every single door, which will be showcased during the exhibition on the 6th, and the stories will be sold with the doors at the live auction. A lot of the doors are actually around the missing and murdered women. In Massachusetts, one of our founding members of the North American Indian Center was Annie Mae Aquash, and she was murdered at Wounded Knee. And she had gone missing for years and years and years, and then the families actually just got her back. So that was one. We have local community members who have family members who have gone murdered and missing, and then they haven't been found. So for our community, it was a way to bring healing back to us. stories will be told. There'll be a few different exhibitions of things that are being showed that night. The doors are one. Videos will actually be showed. Names will be broadcasted to actually put names and faces together so people can actually see
what the stories
are all about.
This is BNN News. We're talking with Sonya Isaac from the North American Indian Center of Boston. Sonya, it seems to me that what you have here, you have some women who are survivors and they're working on these visual representations of what they've been through, but they're also bonding with other survivors.
They are, and which is huge. Not all of the artists are women. Some of them are men who have had family members, women, their mothers, sisters, aunts, cousins, that have gone through it or have had people in their family who have gone murdered or missing. So it was a way to connect everybody together. The North American Indian Center has been here for almost 50 years, and it was a way to bring our community back together and actually see a different side of people and bring them together and try and help everybody heal. So,
what's it like for people to come to this center, people who might be even around New England pretty widely scattered?
Well, the center is, as I said, it's been there for almost 50 years. We're in the process of rebuilding. We're trying to get a lot of new funding sources to go through so that we can actually give more programs and services to the Native American people that we have. I think the last census showed there was close to 50,000 Native Americans in the state of Massachusetts, and we haven't reached out to half of those people because we don't have the resources to actually provide services. And that's what one of our goals is with this, to raise money so that we can actually bring more services in, get the building repaired so that we can offer more to all of the Native Americans in Massachusetts.
And you also have some kind of job training services there too, don't you?
We do. WOA is it's employment and training. People can come in, they can get help with school, resume working. We have a computer lab. They'll help them find jobs. We have links into a lot of different things. So that's one of our main programs at the center right now, other than the women's program. We're looking at getting a youth program going. We've got options of putting proposals out there. So if we get the proposals, we're definitely moving in the right direction.
I want to come around to one of the factors in the violence and disappearances, and this is again talking about throughout North America, the residential schools.
Yeah, the residential schools, it was shoved on a lot of the Native Americans. Children were being ripped off of the reserves and put into, I guess they were calling them boarding schools. They're called residential schools in Canada. I had an aunt and uncle that had gone to them. There's a lot of abuse. They lost their language. They lost their culture. They weren't allowed to, talk. If a child went there only knowing their first language is a native language, they came out speaking English and completely lost the language. If they tried to do anything cultural or anything like that, they got beat. Their hair all got cut off. And, traditionally that's where the strength is in Native American people. That's why you'll see the people with the long braids and things like that. So that was a way of...
In those schools, they taught a disrespect for the Native culture. But these paintings in the doors, aside from referring to some terrible things, they're also a celebration of culture.
It is, because it's a culture that couldn't get beat down. And they've survived over all of the different things that have happened to Native Americans over the years. These paintings will actually show stories of exactly how different people in every different area have survived it.
We should mention some more details on the event. This is going to be on May 6th.
May 6th. It's a closed event. We're only selling 150 tickets because we only have a limited space in the building. As I said, there's 26 stores that will be up for a live auction that evening. The tickets are $100 to get in. You'll have live entertainment. We have some dancers coming in. We have some drumming. The Cambridge Culinary School is actually providing us with some hors d'oeuvres. it's really important to say that we've done most of this all on donations. The doors were all donated, the paints were donated, everything was donated to us. So we had a lot of support that way. The doors open up at 5 o'clock in the evening, and the auction will begin at 6:30.
And you're located right across in the back of the Hill development on
Yes.
the E-line. So.
Yes, so
Great.
we do have some parking available. The VA Center is actually letting us use some of their parking as well. We're right there on the end of the E-line. We encourage people, if you have alternate ways of traveling in, just because parking is limited, and the celebration of spontaneous celebration in Jamaica Plain is going on the same day, so it'll be busy.
We should mention you've got a website too that people can go to if they want to find out more.
It is NAICOB.org, so NAICOB.org. You can see it on Facebook as well. There's a link on there on Unhinged Doors. So all of that information's on there as well.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Sonya Isaac from the North American Indian Center of Boston.